Let me start with something nobody talks about honestly. Not because it's complicated, but because it's embarrassing. You stopped for a while, a few months, maybe a year, and when you came back, it was gone. The second language you studied for years, the instrument you practiced for thousands of hours, the thing you were, by any reasonable measure, good at, gone. And the story we tell ourselves in that moment is always the same. I just need to get back into it. It will come back. I just need to practice again. But I want to stop right there because that story is protecting you from a much more important question. What if it didn't leave? What if it was never there? Think about your mother tongue. You haven't practiced it. You haven't drilled vocabulary. You haven't reviewed grammar rules. You've just lived, and it's there, completely, without an effort. 20 years from now, it will still be there. Swimming, riding a bike, driving. You don't touch these for a decade, you come back, your body knows. These are real abilities. And real abilities share exactly one defining property. They survive your absence. Now think about everything else on your list. The piano pieces, the English or Spanish or French you took for 3 years, the guitar songs you could play so cleanly that people genuinely thought you were good. You stopped. You came back, nothing. What does that tell you? Not that you need more discipline, not that you should have kept practicing. It tells you the ability was never there. What you had was a performance that required a stage to be set first. The sheet music on the stand, the specific sequence of the rehearsed repetitions, the exact conditions under which you built it. Take away the conditions and there was nothing underneath. I've been completely honest about this with myself. When I picked up my Gibson ES335 after a long break, everything I thought I had was simply not there. My first instinct was to call it amnesia. The ability was there and it left. That's a comforting story. It's also completely false. Nothing left because there was nothing to leave. What I had before was task completion. I could reproduce what I practiced under controlled conditions with the right prompts in place. I was the performance. The sheet music was the ability. Here is the distinction that matters. There is a difference between an ability that lives in you and a technique that only functions when conditions are met. Your mother tongue lives in you. Swimming lives in you. But the guitar pieces I learned, they lived in the repetition, they lived in the sequence, they lived in the external scaffold. I was just the temporary host. And the moment the scaffold was removed, there was nothing left to host. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because from the inside, both pathways feel identical. The one that builds real ability and the one that builds a hollow performance, they both feel like learning. They both feel like progress. You feel yourself getting better. You feel the effort paying off until you stop. And then one of them is still there and one of them was never real. So the question is not, how do I get it back? The question is, what is the difference between these two pathways? And I know what the answer is. The abilities that survive, mother tongue, swimming, everything your body truly owns, were never built through rehearsal under controlled conditions. They were built through continuous exposure to conditions you couldn't control. No scaffold, no retreat, no option to pause and look it up. A child learning to speak has no grammar book, no dictionary, no patient teacher explaining what each word means. Just an overwhelming fog of sounds and context and a system that has no choice but to start guessing, predicting, adapting, or fail to communicate entirely that pressure is not a flaw in the process. That pressure is the process. And this is why most of what we call practice builds exactly the kind of ability that disappears. Because most of practice is designed to keep you comfortable, to explain before you are confused, to correct before you fail, to give you the sheet music so you never have to find the notes yourself. We are very disciplined. We put in hours, we finish the tasks, and at the end of all of it, we have built something that requires the exact same controlled conditions to function. Remove the conditions, hollow. The disappearance then is not a tragedy. It's a diagnosis. It's telling you something precise. Not that you lack discipline, not that you should have practiced more, but that the pathway itself was never designed to build the real thing. And here is what I keep sitting with. All those years, all that effort, all that time that feel like it was going somewhere, the question isn't whether it was wasted. The question is, did the road you were on have any chance of taking you there at all? I'm Marcus. See you next time.